hottest hits.
Serving you hits and extra sides. This is the Drive Thru with Ria.
It is 5 minutes past 5 o'clock here in Nairobi. Now, in this hour, I have a special guest with me in the studio, Mr. Malkit Rooprai. He is the man who traveled from the United Kingdom to Kenya on road. We're going to have a chat on his journey, so make sure you're around for that. But right now, I have to drop something hot, okay? I have the trio that is back after almost 8 years. Juggy D, Jay Sean, and Rishi Rich on Man Mary Jan. Not Man Mary Jan. Oh my god, Mary Banja. You know it's going to be a banger. 12 minutes past 5 o'clock here in Nairobi. Now, welcome to the studio, sir. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm good, Ria. Thank you very much for having me on your show, The Drive Thru. A pleasure
You are
being
welcome.
in Nairobi.
Now, let's get right into it.
Sure.
What motivated you to travel across the world?
Yeah, it's just this is the part of the world tour I will be doing, but this is the first part of it.
Okay.
Born in Kenya, Thika, and I love Africa. I've got the love for the African people and all the people who live in Africa. It's a beautiful continent, and what better way to do it by road? You see a lot more of Africa. You really feel Africa. You enjoy the people, the terrain, the landscapes and all, the sunsets, and that's what really motivated me to do this long journey by road,
I think that's what is called a true safari. Now, you have vast experience in areas like finance, IT, migration, data, just to name a few.
Yeah.
How does this play a role in your adventure journey? And have you applied knowledge from these areas in your adventure planning and execution?
Yeah, definitely. It's an area, if you work in the software world, you have to be a very logical thinker. And obviously this journey is quite a long journey.
Yes, it is.
And you've got to sort of plan very logically on where you're going to go, what's involved, who you're going to meet, how to handle people. That's one aspect of thinking logically. The other thing is about working across continents. The world has become a much smaller place. You're working with people from different cultural backgrounds, different languages and all. So you've got to have the perseverance, the calmness, to be able to work with people across continents. And obviously on this journey, having that kind of mindset is very, very important,
Yes.
So you need to definitely keep very calm, have a very open mindset, and then that takes you through the journey, because it's such a long journey that I've embarked on. And these are some of the qualities that from my work experience working with different people has taken me through this journey.
How long, how many kilometers has the journey been?
Yeah, so I've done almost about 70,000 kilometers.
Okay, wow.
It's taken me just over 7 months. And so it's a pretty long journey. But again, one of the important things of it is that I never had a timeline. I didn't say that I wanted to be in Nairobi on so-and-so date. I wanted to be in Cape Town on so-and-so date. I wanted to be in Congo on so-and-so date. But it's just you take the time to visit the country, you travel around the country.
Yes.
When you're finished, then you say, okay, let me exit.
move on now.
Yeah, let me exit from that country, and then you move on to the next country,
Oh, that's
and
brilliant.
so that's part of the journey, the adventure. I never planned anything out in very much detail and all. And you just plan from day to day. Sometimes you might say, oh, I like this beach, I like this view of the mountain. And, you stay there for, instead of one night, you end up staying there 3 nights, Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And
that's brilliant.
it's truly brought out a different kind of person in me, thinking wise, talking to people, meeting people is really important, how you handle them at borders and all. And it's just shown how Africa has changed over time, So it's a beautiful continent, people have been absolutely amazing, So it's just opened up, communications has opened up as well, So every time you've got Google Maps running, you've got offline maps, so you're not in a dark continent. People say this perception of Africa is a dark continent. It sure isn't a dark continent now.
That's brilliant. Well, we'll be back with some more questions. If you have any questions for Mr. Malkit Rooprai, please send them in on 0758 123 444. I absolutely love this song, Jera Nisha, taken off the movie and action hero. Now with me in the studio, I have an adventurer, Mr. Malkit Rooprai. Now, tell me, sir, describe your routine and experience whenever you embark on a journey.
Yeah, it depends. It depends where you're in the journey. So, for example, one of the things is I never drove at night. You know, I made sure that I had enough rest. You know, so the first thing is when you arrive at a location. It depends at what location you are. So, for example, if you arrive late, you might be at a border crossing. You might be at a police checkpoint, an army checkpoint. And then after you decide, it could be a campsite, you know, where they have good facilities, but it really depends on what location you arrive in. So, for example, if the first thing you do is arrive at a location, make sure that it's a secure location. Security is quite important when traveling through Africa, and you must look at those are the kind of places where you're going to stay, you know, is there enough security and all. And then afterwards, what you do is you actually set up, you park your car in a secure location. And then before it gets dark, you actually make sure that the rooftop tent is open. You know, you've lit a fire, or you know what are you going to eat? So you cook something. You know, I had my jiko with me. I had makara with me.
Yes.
So you actually make sure you eat well, and then you have a good rest at night, and then wake up in the morning. You know, it's absolutely brilliant waking up in the morning in Africa. And then you have your time to have your breakfast and all, have a shower. So sometimes the shower could be just at a army checkpoint where the guys even heated water for me, you know.
Yes.
And so you went around the corner, had a shower, and then had breakfast. And then you start closing up the tent, you know, packing up things again. Again, it's a very logical way of doing things, and how they go back into the car. And then after you say, okay, now what's the next route that I'm going to take, and where am I going to go, how far it is. And then obviously looking after, checking the wheels on my car, you know, everything's secure and all, and then setting up, going for the next journey, and what also is there to see on that leg of the journey, you know. So those are kind of the important things, just a pretty routine way of what a day-to-day journey involves along the road, you know.
That's brilliant. Now, one question I'm sure has popped up on so many people's mind. Why do you choose to drive over other modes of transport like flying? And I'm sure there have been challenges that have been on the way.
Yeah.
What have those challenges been?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. If you want to experience Africa or experience the world, and the best way to do it is by driving. You know, driving, the roads have really improved across Africa. They've got a beautiful network of roads. I think so about 80% of the roads were all asphalt. Some of them did a lot of off-roading in mountains, sands, deserts as well, crossing the Sahara, going through Kaukaland in Namibia, which was a pretty treacherous road and all. But these are kind of the experiences you have on the road, which you never experience them anywhere else, you know. So those are kind of some of the challenges you face. You know, road conditions. Congo wasn't as easy, and crossing through mud and all, the rain and all was an experience as well. But yeah, so really I wouldn't say there was any challenges or anything, because people have changed. You know, your approach to people is extremely important. You know, border crossings were absolutely smooth. I never had any issues at border crossings. I made sure I had the right paperwork and all. And it's sort of these kind of basic checks and all that, you don't have any issues. For example, one of the good things is the car I chose was really good, and never experienced any issues with the car. And, you know, after doing 70,000 kilometers, you have one slow puncture. That it really shows, how you drive, you know, and how the road conditions and all are, you know. So really, I wouldn't say there was any kind of issue or problem that I faced, but I think so it's just your calmness, your approach to people, how you talk to people when they stop you at checkpoints and all, and you just have to carry on, you know. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Well, we're not done just yet. We'll be back right after this. The Kakkar siblings, Neha Kakkar and Tony Kakkar on Balenciaga. Now, in the studio with me, I have Mr. Malkit Rooprai. Now, tell me, sir, what are some of the most outstanding experiences you've had and places you've seen?
Ria, it's just Africa is amazing, you know. It's such a beautiful place. You know, you start from the north, you know, pressing down from Spain to Morocco. Morocco has got really very beautiful places to go and visit, historical sites and all. So another place is, but the mountain driving in Morocco was absolutely superb and all. And then after you start coming down towards Gambia and all, Gambia has got absolutely beautiful beaches and all. And then you come down towards Ghana, it's got the largest cathedral in Africa as well. So that was an amazing sight to see what a magnificent building that you have. And then as you drive down towards Angola, absolutely beautiful waterfalls, Kalandula waterfalls. I never knew, imagined such a beautiful waterfall to be there. And then down as you're driving to Namibia, Namibia had some amazing national parks. You know, Etosha was absolutely beautiful. The terrain is absolutely beautiful. The salt pans are absolutely beautiful to watch. And then as you go up again, you see plenty of wildlife. You actually pass through towns where you get oryxes just roaming in the streets as well. So Orange Moon was a typical example where
Yes.
It's such a beautiful place. And then as you move down towards South Africa and all, again, beautiful wildlife. The vineyards absolutely beautiful. I camped at a wine farm, and it's such a beautiful place to stay. You know, the views of the wine fields, the morning sunrises and sunsets was amazing. And then what better way to enter Botswana? Botswana has got one of the largest population of elephants. It's got about 150,000 elephants, and they're just roaming there like how you see zebras and wildebeest. So that was such a beautiful experience. And one thing being on the road is you stand there, you look at these animals, they look at you, and you just have that kind of connection with wildlife and nature, which you can't really get by just driving fast from one. So there's a great opportunity to discover wildlife, people and all. And then you move into Zimbabwe, Victoria Falls, amazing place as well. And then upwards towards Tanzania, and what better wildlife can you see in Tanzania, So that was a really good experience. And one of the best experiences I had was actually going into Uganda and visiting the Bwindi National Park, where I actually tracked for gorillas.
With the gorillas, yes.
So that was an amazing experience. And then coming down towards Kenya, the hospitality of our Asians has been absolutely amazing. I've just been overwhelmed by the whole nature of the welcome I received and all. So these are some of the great moments of my traveling around in Africa.
That's brilliant. And I'm sure you've also learned some important lessons on the way.
Yeah, I think so. The important lessons are just be calm, and take it a step at a time. You can't. Africa is still a huge continent. You could travel for many years and still not visit many places. You've got to persevere. Conflicts break down. You don't know what's going to happen. But these are some of the adventure that you experience along the road. So it could be going very smoothly. An example here is like I couldn't cross over to Egypt and all and make my return way home because of the conflicts and all that happen in Africa. But you've got to expect these kind of things. So as long as your health is well, you keep well, the car keeps moving. These are some of the important things that I've learned along the way.
That is fantastic. Well, we're still not done. We'll be back right after this. ये एक जिंदगी काफी नहीं है, but I think it is if you are Mr. Malkit Singh Rooprai. He is living the life, he is traveling across the world. Now, how do you cope, and how is your family able to handle your absence?
Yeah, I think so. Ria, it's quite important that you keep in touch with them always.
Yes.
I hope my wife Balvinder and my son Sandeep and Rajini, daughter, are listening to the show, but I'd really like to thank them for giving me this opportunity to being away from home. But yeah, it's again one of those things, communication has improved a lot,
Yes.
So every sort of border crossing you cross, the first thing you do is cross the border and you get a local SIM and buy data. So once you've got a SIM in your phone, then you're in connection with the outside world. And what better way of actually talking to your family every evening, telling them where you're staying, the location you're staying in, sending them, and then also keeping in touch with my huge following that I've gathered on social media as well, on Rooprai Overlanding Africa.
Yes.
So these are some of the things that have changed. It's making travel a lot more easier. You're in connection with people, your family as well. So you're constantly in touch with your family and all. But yes, sometimes you think that it's just over 7 months now you've been away from your family, but being in touch with them, talking to them, it's still you still have that connection. But hopefully I'm looking forward to getting back home to be
I can imagine. 7 months
reunited with
is a
them.
long time.
Sure, you know.
Yeah. Now, considering how expensive traveling is, how do you manage to finance your adventures and travel?
Yeah, I think so. The main thing is, yes, it is. It's not quite cheap, you know. So there's a lot of things you've got to see. Obviously, the car, the fuel costs have been major. So those are the
Yes.
kind of things you've got to think about. But then you can sort of budget on where you stay. So I've been staying in my rooftop tent. It doesn't cost you anything. You could sleep on, on the beach. Where you have to just pay a couple of dollars. So you have to sort of, sometimes you cook and eat. Sometimes you splash it on. You stay in a good hotel as well. So it's not that you've got to really, think about all the expenses. But there are ways in which you can, cut down costs. Again, some of the very good examples I've had is, beginning from South Africa, our families have been really very supportive of my journey. I've been staying with family and friends. They've been planning my next route. They've always been looking out for me on where to go and camp, where to go and stay, all the way from South Africa coming up towards Kenya. And that's one of the beautiful things, that especially on the East African side, that our families have been very supportive. They say, okay, you can go and stay there. We are going to look after you. So there are ways and all. But coming down to Kenya, we've got families like even in Jinja and all, where they actually accommodated me. And also it was really a good experience actually meeting with them.
Yes.
And actually sitting down and listening to some of the old stories they have to tell. And then after you cross into Kenya, you've got people in Kitale. You've got family and friends in Eldoret who are absolutely welcoming and all. And then you come down to places like Chemlil. I never heard about the family, and people along the way actually told me that you are coming to stay with us, so that was another thing. And then Chemlil family, stayed with them. They even sort of helped me put in new brake pads into the car. So such small gestures have been
Yes.
so good. And then you came down towards Nairobi, and all people along the way have really been very appreciative and all, and supportive. Like people like Mane at Shama's Autos have been very, very supportive. That they've actually funded part of my journey as well. So these are kind of connections you have with people and all, and they're very supportive of the effort you've made and all. But yeah, really, really thank a lot of families. I've got friends who've been trying to help me, arrange the car, returning back to the UK and all. So these kind of small things have really been quite critical in helping me enjoy my journey across Africa. And it's definitely an experience that everybody should undertake and all. And it's just another way of discovering yourself.
Yes, that's true. When you have people who support you, the
Yeah.
whole journey becomes very easy.
Absolutely.
And that's
Yeah.
very wholesome.
Yes.
Now, I've got a question from a listener who's asking, where do you plan to go next?
I I think so. That's a really good question. Now, because of this conflict in here, I couldn't cross across. The mission was to actually get home driving. So I think so. Part 2 will be actually coming back to Kenya, and then completing that sector. Coming in through Europe, crossing over into Egypt, dropping down to Sudan. Ethiopia is a beautiful country, and I'm going to see Ethiopia by road. So there's part 2 of the thing would be trying to complete this leg of the journey, and then hopefully a couple of years look at driving down from South America to North America and discovering that part of the continent. A lot of people have been doing the route from London to India, so that would be another route to do and all. But yeah, so discovering the world by road is definitely on the cards, still on.
That's brilliant. Now, you had mentioned you have a blog.
Yes.
Would you want to share it with us so
Yeah.
our listeners can follow up as well?
Yeah, so the blog, it actually started off very simply, where people wanted me to send photographs. So I said, okay, I might as well start a page. And so on Facebook, it's called Rooprai Overlanding Africa. So that's I think so it's covered the whole of the journey that I've undertaken. And also anybody would like to visit it and experience it, or, it will be great for them to have a look at my journey across Africa.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining me
Yeah.
today. It was wonderful. You have inspired me to want to take up a journey like this, and hopefully in the future I will be able to.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ria. It's been a pleasure being on your show here, and thanking all the listeners and all in Nairobi, and I think so across the world, wherever they are. It's a pleasure being here at Radio 44.
And we hope to see you here again next time when you come for your second leg of this journey.
Thank you.
The Drive Thru.